I think just a couple of thoughts by way of closing. First of all, I want to thank Court Gould, who we haven't thanked yet, in Sustainable Pittsburgh for his leadership in this. And Court, I don't know where you are in the house. You know, one of the things that the Heinz Endowments has done is reorganize a major portion of our work around the concept of sustainability, and people tend to think of that purely as an environmental thing. But it is really about social, economic, and environmental inclusion, and how you create a society across all three of those areas that is truly sustainable. And I think part of what we've been talking about is that if we want our society to be sustainable, we have to figure out this issue of equity. It has to be core to what we want to do and be. I'd also like to thank all of you again for being in the room. I'm actually kind of in awe at the number of you who came today and stayed through the day. We were just talking backstage about, well, we were partly talking about the mayor hangout at the White House, but we were talking with a group of folks from Silicon Valley about this community, and I think we both feel that there isn't a better community in America in terms of folks wanting to show up and be part of a solution, and you all just embodied that through the course of the day. So thank you so much for your willingness to do that.
So before we go, I got a couple of videos for you, just in case you really wanted to leave right now. But they're short, they're less than 3 minutes each, or about 3 minutes each. And Grant, I had a very interesting 80s. So most people don't know, but I started out in the 80s, right out of high school, on a full ride Army ROTC scholarship at Carnegie Mellon University. I was the highest ranking cadet my sophomore year. I was a master sergeant. I taught rappelling on weekends, and I couldn't keep the grades to stay at CMU. Lost the scholarship, left by the mid to late 1980s. I was at Penn State following the Grateful Dead. So I want to be able to...
This is such a great pedigree.
I want to be able to share that a little bit, because you gave a great speech yesterday, and you talked about how we have to do more than just say no to intolerance. And there's a general from Australia who spoke out better than I think anyone could about what we have to do, because we have the policies. We have the research to show that the policies that we need to do in this city are right. We have basically we've got all the pieces of the puzzle in this room. The leadership in this room can literally make the things we're talking about happen. But the one part about implementation is leadership. And let me show this video now of this Australian general, and understand within the passion that he speaks, all of us need to speak out against anybody who is intolerant.
Earlier today, I addressed the media, and through them the Australian public, about ongoing investigations into a group of officers and NCOs whose conduct, if proven, has not only brought the Australian Army into disrepute, but has let down every one of you and all of those whose past service has won the respect of our nation. There are limits to how much I can tell you, because the investigations into this network by both the New South Wales Police and the ADF Investigative Service are ongoing. But evidence collected to date has identified a group of men within our ranks who have allegedly produced highly inappropriate material, demeaning women, and distributed it across the internet and Defence's email networks. If this is true, then the actions of these members are in direct contravention to every value the Australian Army stands for. By now, I assume you know my attitude to this type of conduct. I have stated categorically many times that the Army has to be an inclusive organisation in which every soldier, man and woman, is able to reach their full potential and is encouraged to do so. Those who think that it is okay to behave in a way that demeans or exploits their colleagues have no place in this Army. Our service has been engaged in continuous operations since 1999 and in its longest war ever in Afghanistan. On all operations, female soldiers and officers have proven themselves worthy of the best traditions of the Australian Army. They are vital to us, maintaining our capability now and into the future. If that does not suit you, then get out. You may find another employer where your attitude and behaviour is acceptable, but I doubt it. The same goes for those who think that toughness is built on humiliating others. Every one of us is responsible for the culture and reputation of our army and the environment in which we work. If you become aware of any individual degrading another, then show moral courage and take a stand against it. No one has ever explained to me how the exploitation or degradation of others enhances capability or honours the traditions of the Australian Army. I will be ruthless in ridding the army of people who cannot live up to its values, and I need every one of you to support me in achieving this. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. That goes for all of us, but especially those who by their rank have a leadership role. If we are a great national institution, if we care about the legacy left to us by those who have served before us, if we care about the legacy we leave to those who, in turn, will protect and secure Australia, then it is up to us to make a difference. If you're not up to it, find something else to do with your life. There is no place for you amongst this band of brothers and sisters.
Yeah. That's what we need to do.
You know, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm a native Australian. I love the fact that they needed subtitles for that.
Well, there's another mission that comes before us, and that will be in January, where with the Rockefeller Foundation, we'll need to submit our resilience plan. And our resilience plan, different than other cities, won't be on man-made disasters and natural disasters, but on the issues that you spoke about these past 2 days. The policies that were discussed, the thoughts that came through the panel discussions will now become part, as we look at 50 years into the future of Pittsburgh, what our greatest challenges are. And this is part of the resiliency. But it's going to take leadership from everyone here, because true leaders don't create followers, true leaders create leaders. And if we're going to be able to do that, then we have to know how to get there. And there has been no better example than this video that shows how to create what will be needed to make these policies implemented into the future of Pittsburgh.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. See, it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut, and it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers, because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, Did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
There you have it.
You know, I love that. And if either of us had any guts, we'd do it now.
No guts.
No, no guts. I'm so tempted. Come on. There's video, right? YouTube is dangerous. Listen, that's such a great pair of videos to leave off on, and that last one is a wonderful embodiment of what I hope you'll all walk away from this meeting with. You know, in some of the conversations that I heard, it was about what others can do, and there was a conversation about what money is available, and how do we get other organizations to do things. And that's part of being in community. We have to do that. But a lot of this conversation is about what you can take away from today and yesterday and translate into the work that you're doing in the organizations that you work in, into your personal life, into the community that you live in, and the places that you want to change. So yeah, be that crazy shirtless guy if at whatever cost, because I think the world is ready for that. The world is ready for that kind of change. You know, I spend a lot of time kind of dwelling on the moment that we're in as a society, and there's a poem that I've been using a lot lately when I talk about this that I'd like to leave you with as a way of thinking about the work that we're embarking upon as a community through P4. It's a poem by Adrienne Rich called In Those Years, and if you would, just indulge me for a moment as I read you a little bit of it. But it begins, in those years, people will say we lost track of the meaning of we, of you. We found ourselves reduced to I, and the whole thing became silly, ironic, terrible. We were trying to live a personal life, and yes, that was the only life we could bear witness to. But the great dark birds of history screamed and plunged into our personal weather. They were headed somewhere else, but their beaks and pinions drove along the shore through the rags of fog where we stood, saying I. Sometimes feel so much as though where we're caught as a culture is in this incessant conversation about what's in it for me, what do I care about, what about the people that I care about, what about my interests. And I think a lot of us despair about that. I think the reason all of you are in the room today is because you see beyond that, and you see that the only way we're ever going to be able to deal with the great dark birds of history that are plunging through our world right now is by rebuilding the sense of we, rebuilding the sense of how we're all connected, and using every tool at our disposal to make that happen. I said in the opening session that we are living in a magical time, and I absolutely believe that. This is an extraordinary moment in Pittsburgh's history. And if you read the news, it's easy to get really caught up in all the negativism and all the cynicism. But in our community, things are changing. And in our community, change is possible for the first time in a generation in a way that many of us didn't imagine would be possible. And I repeat what I said at the beginning, which is, yes, it brings up new challenges. And yes, we're going to face some tough times. And yes, we're going to find our values tested. But I absolutely believe, as I know the mayor does, and I know every participant in organizing this conference believes, if we stay focused on rebuilding the meaning of we, then we are going to do something that measures up to this magical moment that we've been given. And this is a gift to be able to be the people at this moment in time who get to take on this set of challenges. So, as organizers for this conference, I will tell you we're going to take away what we heard. We're going to try and come up with our plans for how to build on that. But please, in your own way and in your own organizations and in your own life, take away from this conference what you can do. Take away from this conference what you can do individually and together. And above all, take away we. Thank you.